Hello and welcome to Wellness with Wanted. I'm Sarah Buitendach. I'm the editor of Wanted, and I'd like to welcome you all to this evening, to this hour of a little bit of indulgence and relaxing. It's very strange to be talking to what I think is 500 people, but on my screen, I can see our panel. So it feels like something out of like a World War II radio broadcast. I feel like I should be saying, and good evening, everyone. But hi, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. I've been waiting for this for weeks because, quite frankly, we're on deadline. Things are a little bit hellish, and I need a bit of respite and relaxation. I know that the last 6 months have been basically outrageous for everyone. Um, in fact, I'm preaching to the choir. You're all stressed and you're tired. I said in my invitation, and I'm so glad you saw it and you've joined us, that I wake up at 3 a.m. and I panic about work and I'm anxious and I stress. And this is really why our wonderful partners at Woolworths got on board. We all started to have this conversation, and between all of us girls and the lovely thorn amongst the roses, who I'll introduce in a minute, we all just thought, hang on, this is something that I think our readers and our audiences would love to be part of, because we all need that little bit of time to decompress and to relax and think about ways to cope and ways to get through what has really been an unprecedented and crazy last 6 months. Not only and I know particularly because it's Women's Month, and I know we've got a lot of women on the call. We're all mums, we're busy mums, we're working women, we're sisters, we're daughters, and we've also become teachers in the last 6 months, and everyone has just basically had it. Of course, lockdown is lifting. Thank goodness the booze is back. But I think there are lots of other ways. Amanda's clapping. Amanda Dambuza, of course, is clapping, and we all know she's a fan of a bit of bubbly. But we all just need a little bit of moment to think about our lives and to think about wellness and what that means to us. So because we're wanted, and we don't do things half measure. We've gathered up a team of like fantastic advisors for this evening. You will know who they are because you will have seen the invitation. But I think I'm going to just run through what we're going to do, and then I'm going to introduce all of them. So just to let you know, I've got to get my information here. Woolies are wonderful partners. I mean, and in fact, before I go into the prizes that they've providing for this evening, the Woolies, I don't think there's anyone I would rather be partnering with. I've always said this is a bit of a joke in our family, that if I'm ever feeling out of sorts and I'm feeling anxious in a different place, I just have to walk into a Woolworths, because I'm so used to them. I just go stand next to the chuckles, and I feel so much better. So, Woolies, thanks for being partners this evening. I'm very glad to have you on board, and we're gonna suck their brains, everyone, for all the trend forecasting and all the things that we need to look forward to post COVID. And I think there's a lot of positivity in the air. It is the springtime. Joburg hopefully is starting to warm up. I know Cape Town's had some miserable weather, so I hope you guys are warming up too. But just to jump around a bit, I'm going to just give you a little bit of detail about what Woolies have brought to the party besides their minds this evening. The team have put together some fantastic hampers, and what we're going to be doing is I'm going to ask a question now. I'll repeat the question. And if you guys could all weigh in on the chat, which I know you can see, and once the Zoom is finished and once the conversation is finished, we'll choose the winners, and then in the thank you mail that you guys are going to get, presume tomorrow, we will announce the winners. So let me just tell you what you can win. And this is one of those instances where I hate being part of the team who organized it, because I don't qualify for any of these, but because they're fabulous. We've got the 4 hampers, and they include 2 Studio W bamboo cotton bath sheets and 2 Studio W bamboo cotton hand towels and charcoal. So that's the first hamper. Then we've got 1 earth-friendly cleaning range hamper to the value of R1,000. And then there's a virtual gift card voucher for foods to the value of 2,500 Rand. I mean, that's pretty damn fabulous. And a beauty hamper. And you can actually see from those hampers the kind of gambit of things we're going to talk about this evening. We're going to talk about beauty. We're going to talk about food, eating well, mindfulness. We're going to talk about a little bit of health, your home, fashion, and also just general kind of holistic wellness. So let me ask the question now, and of course I'll follow it up again just now so you can kind of percolate. It is, how do you promote wellness and health within your own home and your daily routine? Let me give that to you again. It's, how do you, as the audience this evening, promote health and wellness within your home and daily routine? Okay, so you guys got that? And then the lovely Jade, who's organizing our back end of what from Wanted, Jade will put those up again a little bit later so you can just percolate over it. Okay, so without further ado, let me introduce the panel for this evening. I will start, I think, with the Joburg Massive. So we're going to kick off first. I'm just going to run through them and then we'll jump around with questions. So the first person, and I think she really needs no introduction, is Amanda Dambuza. Never mind the fact that she is one of my favorite people to stalk on Instagram. She also happens to be the CEO of Uyandiswa. She's an author. I hope all of you have read her fabulous book. Well, it's not fabulous. It's well, of course, brilliantly written, but it's insightful, it's moving, and I think it's something that we could all learn a lot from. Baked in Pain is Amanda's book. And you're also, Amanda, if I'm correct, a non-exec on a lot of JSE listed companies. I think I got that right.
Yes.
Then we've got, yeah, cool. And then we've got fabulous Joy Phala, who is another person I stalk on Instagram. I must say, you'll realize this evening that I spend a lot of time following everyone's lives on Instagram, so I know exactly what you're all up to. She's a landscape designer and she's the founder of Organic Kitchen Gardens. And in fact, Joy, what's your handle on Instagram so everyone can just follow you if they haven't followed you? They should be.
It's Organic Kitchen Gardens.
Okay.
Just like that. It's Organic Kitchen Gardens.
Cool. And I must say, it's just it'll provide you all with a little bit of shot of happiness in your life to see what Joy gets to do for her day job. She left a big corporate job and decided to follow, when she became a mum, to follow what she loved. So she started this company, and that means she gets to spend her day in people's gardens, creating beauty, working with plants. And I actually say I'm so envious of you. I just think it sounds like the most wonderful job. So welcome and thank you very much. And then our Woolies team. We've got three fascinating people here. The other person whose job I'd like to steal, so you better keep an eye out for me, is Hina Rahman Reynolds, who is the trend consultant for Woolies. So welcome and thanks for joining us. I think some fascinating new things that you're going to have to say, I'm sure, about COVID. The world, your trend forecasting must have been going along in one particular way, and then a pandemic hit us. So thanks for joining us. That's going to be fascinating to hear about. And her colleague, Kath Bothner, you've got quite a title, Kath. You are head of product for trends, insight, strategy for Woolies food. So my favorite part of the Woolies, where I spend far too much money and stand by all those stickers. You all know them that say new and innovation. I make a beeline for those. Love that stuff. So we're going to talk about that. And thank you very much. And then our thorn amongst all the roses. I actually thought we should probably say you were like a succulent. Thorn sounds a little bit harsh. Scott Parker, you are product development manager for culinary innovation, research and development for Woolies. But you're going to actually be talking to us about getting involved with communities and really giving back. So I'm excited to hear about that, because I know not just Woolies, but our other well, Amanda and Joy, in fact, you are both very involved in community involvement and giving back, and really feel strongly about that. So, guys, I think you've all got a good sense of who we'll be chatting to tonight. It's very casual. I hope that everyone will think of other questions they'd like to answer, to ask. What we're going to do is we'll chat now, and then I think towards the last 15 minutes or so of the evening, Jade's going to send through my questions from the audience. So think about anything that pops up while we're chatting. Yeah, let's get the show on the road. I think, Hina, I'm going to start with you, because I think that what you do really will set the tone for this conversation, particularly because you obviously are really casting your mind forward in general, but it must have been quite something to suddenly have to think about navigating the world with the view through a pandemic.
Gosh, absolutely. I have to say, some trends were looming. They were already there. They were already in our horizon. We were already talking about them, but they were far away. We were talking about them in the future. So the one thing that COVID did was bring them right here. They were right here today, immediately, as well as some other trends that we hadn't anticipated. So of course, I mean, like everybody else, I mean, we all resorted into our homes and we were just tapping, we were online, we were trying to find how we were going to navigate our way through this. And for me, I think the two things that have come through for me, well, in fact, it's one. The biggest thing is connectivity. And in my mind, it plays out in two ways. One, wanting to connect with nature, and the other, connection. To connect to the world, to connect to our friends, to connect to our loved ones while we've all been in our homes. So the natural aspect is, I mean, we've been talking about it forever. I mean, we saw all those images, we saw the Venice canals clear up as we all resorted into our homes. We saw India Gate and, those images with the fog and the clear, we wanted to connect with nature. We wanted to understand what we've done to the world. We wanted to make sense of what we've done to the world. It would definitely made us want to stop and reset. And I have to say, I'm sure you've all seen those beautiful covers from Vogue magazine. Erin Enfield, had, the editor-in-chief. Beautiful. I mean, I think it was about 15 artists. And they've projected those beautiful images, about 15 images connecting to nature. And it just completes the picture of all the conversation, everything that we see in social media, everything that we've written about when we want to connect with nature. And it talks about sustainability, it talks about sourcing correctly. And even as consumers, we're looking at the world and we're thinking, okay, what do we need? What do we want? What do we desire? But do we need it? And we've got a sense of community. We're looking at small businesses and they're closing down, and we're looking, and we want to kind of, there's a community and a comradeship, and we're thinking more globally, I think, than we ever have done. We're thinking more holistically than we ever have been. So yes, so in sustainability comes the fabrics, comes how they're sourced, the material, the color. We're looking at natural fabrications, we're looking at natural tones, we're looking at therapeutic tones, we're thinking about smells. We want the outside in our homes. We want it in. We want to touch it. We want to feel it. We want to consume it. And on every levels, it's really, really important for us connecting with nature.
And I'm fascinated by that. Do you see it lasting? I mean, obviously we all feel like that now. I mean, we all wish we were sitting in Joy's lounge with her what is that? A banana tree, or is it, I'm showing my fabulous floral knowledge right now. Oh, you're on mute. Sorry, Joy.
It's a Strelitzia. It's the indigenous false banana tree. Yes.
Yeah. So Hina, do you think that's going to last? I mean, we feel like that now, but do you think in like 8 months' time, a year's time, we'll still be feeling like that?
Well, you know what? It has to last. Some of it will last. There is a yin and yang to it. So I will talk on the other side of it as well. Some of it is because we're centering ourselves. So here we are, we're not going to work anymore. We're working from home. We're trying to navigate our lives. And, some of us are struggling. Some of us are finding that we're more productive. We're more creative. Balancing, we're having time for ourselves, we're having time for our family, we're having time to think about what we're consuming, we're having time to think about what we're putting on our bodies, we're having time to, I think that's the mindfulness that is giving us, and also this, the meditation, the exercise, the well-being, the benefits are great, but the holisticness, surely that can't go away. Surely that resetting of rebalancing our lives, surely can't, because we can see the benefits already.
Yeah, I absolutely hope not. I mean, because I think that it has certainly made all our lives richer. And I mean, I think, Amanda, you can probably talk to that, because you are exactly the kind of person Hina's talking about. You're corporate, you're busy, you know, there are huge responsibilities. You're a mum. You're an avid gardener, and I thought I should just actually say this, that before we went on air, the two green-fingered members of this team, Amanda and Joy, were having a fat chat about the vegetable garden, because in fact Joy is working with Amanda on her vegetable garden. So we're going to get to that now, because I want to talk to Joy about the kind of actual tangibility of that. But Amanda, what is your advice? I mean, talking to all of that, I mean, that trend stuff, you yourself, I mean, how do you think women, I suppose, and of course not just women, but families should be navigating that stress and looking towards the future, I guess?
Well, I mean, firstly, thank you for having me, and hi everybody. I really think that it's you know, it has been a really difficult time for everybody, for families. Now, I always say that, you know, great families have had it the best, because there's nothing better like, you know, great connection with your loved ones. And I mean, I can speak for myself. Never in our hectic schedules have we had so much lunch at the table in the middle of the day as a family. So there's been great connection, as Hina has said. But unfortunately, the other side of it is that where there's no happiness, where there's no harmony, it's been also really incredibly difficult. But I think what it has done is really bring forth some of the challenges that may have been there, in fact, prior. So things like money stresses, things like, you know, the overburden of that women tend to carry in their homes. So, you know, I really think that, you know, with a lot of people working from home and that added pressure, I mean, I've been very vocal about now being expected to be a teacher to my 9-year-old, who is incredibly opinionated. Yes, he's my son, I know.
but I'm absolutely shocked. I didn't see that coming at all. Yeah.
But I think people must learn, you know, first of all, it's important to learn to live with some kind of mess. Because I think the added pressure is that everything must be perfect, everything must be clean, everything must be in a place where it's supposed to be. No, things have changed. We're carrying a lot. So learn to live with the mess. Dishes can wait until tomorrow. As minute as that sounds, it is. I must make sure all the dishes are all washed and placed, put away before I go to bed, or before I feed the baby, or before, you know, there are things that can wait. And saying no, you know, is a full sentence. You know, and I'm talking just generally about how people can actually really cope with these tough times. Saying no is a full sentence, and it actually requires no further justification. If you are expected to be carrying more and more, whilst you are also carrying your own load, it's going to lead to serious burnout. And I'm pretty sure we're going to be talking about that, you know. And I think we must let go of that need to be perfect. And literally just immerse ourselves in this new world, in this new way of living, where our lives are so intertwined. But create the boundaries, create the spaces where you have somewhere to go to work in a corner, in the corner of your home. But close that laptop and go for lunch, you know, and learn to walk away from your work. And don't take, what I think people have now done is literally take the office and bring it into their homes. All those bad habits, you know, coffee in front of the laptop, lunch in front of the laptop, and never just shutting down and walking away. So those are just some of the things. And say when you're not coping, you know.
I feel like I can imagine there are like 500 people right now all nodding their heads in agreement, particularly about saying no. That full sentence thing, I feel like we all need to put that up in front of our computers, big print out, so we can just be reminded of that. I mean, that is something you said there, which is absolutely fascinating. And I think, Kath, you can probably speak to this. It's just saying how you and the fam have had lunch so often together. Kath, it must be fascinating. What do you think has, in terms of food? I mean, everyone's congregating. No one. I mean, hasn't been eating out. People haven't been getting takeaways. What do you see? What do you think's changed? How have people's habits shifted in the food realm?
Amanda, I loved what you were saying about getting together around the table. And I think it is one of the most fantastic shifts that have happened out of COVID. But if you think about how everything shifted in our world, our homes have become our universes. So we've all had to readjust to new routines. And you talked about that office in our house now. I heard something the other day. It was people saying, you know, are we working at home? Are we sleeping at work? We're not quite sure. I think one of the biggest challenges is the boundaries. And certainly what we've seen is that there's been this massive kitchen revival or kitchen reawakening, where before cooking and the kitchen was such a place of chore when we were also busy and rushing and we had to rush home from work and get dinner on the table. It wasn't a joyful place for many people. And now with that little bit of extra time, people have started discovering that they can cook, and there's been loads of inspiration flooding social media. People just like us learning new recipes and sharing recipes and really showing that it's actually quite easy to do a lot, and actually with very little ingredients as well. So in the beginning of lockdown, when we were all had stockpiled and we had endless amounts of tuna and lentils, and how you can make really great things with a little. And Scott actually had us cooking as a product development community, teaching us how some of the recipes that he's been making for his Give Back campaign, which he'll talk about. And yeah, just showing that you can do such incredible things. And I think that's the joy that's sort of come through in the last little while. But, you know, when we talk about food, it's not just about what we eat. It's about how we eat and how we think about it. And those family occasions where we can actually use that kitchen and that cooking time as a creative outlet to break between our work day and our evening and sort of transition into home life has been really magical. I'm loving hearing how many families are gathering in the kitchen and kids are getting involved. And even if they're baking banana bread, it's fine, but they're just getting involved in the kitchen and learning about food, it's really magical what can happen in that space and just being around the dinner table.
And boy, did we all break banana bread in those first few weeks. I feel we could like chart lockdown. There was the banana bread phase, there was the sourdough phase, now there's the alcohol's back phase. So which, by the way, you can see I'm drinking my Woolies Lamott wine tonight. I'm very happy that has reappeared on the scene. In fact, what you're just saying there, Joy, it actually kind of segues into something I was going to ask you. Have you seen an uptick in people wanting to develop veggie gardens now that they're spending so much time at home and are suddenly realizing that they should be paying more attention to those things? Obviously, they're cooking more, but also they're at home and thinking, oh, hang on, we need to pay more attention to our garden. Obviously, because you do general landscaping, not just veggie gardens.
Yes. So it's exactly that. So it's not even just vegetable gardens, but when it comes to food, I think people are realizing that the shelves are not as full as they used to be anymore. You know, every now and then you walk in and you look for something and it's not there. One or two items might not be on the shelves. And so a lot of the requests that we're getting now are more full on vegetable gardens, and people are looking to not just only grow vegetable gardens, but also fruit and nuts in their homes. And also, I mean, in terms of general landscaping, people are thinking about, you know, if we're going to go through another lockdown, I want to make sure that my home is as comfortable as possible and really facilitates living. So there is a lot more requests for professional landscaping to be done and to cater for real needs and real activities that take place in people's homes. So to cater for play, for homes that have small children, to cater for communing and lounging and outdoor cooking and living outside. So and that speaks to that whole connection to nature that we are missing, because of the lockdown, we can't go on holiday. We can't, you know, just go to Sabi, even though that's now opening up. But people are trying to create these mini oases in their homes so that they can still feel that connection to nature. And I mean, that is just a primal need. We are part of nature. We come from nature. So intrinsically, we want to be in nature and be surrounded by plants and be surrounded by beauty. So there is definitely a lot. The trend is going towards making the home more livable, or rather more making the home facilitate living a lot better.
And to that point, I mean, it's all very well if you happen to live in a beautiful property with like an acre garden or you know, like some rolling lawns in Constantia.
Yes.
But I mean, what about the rest of us who live in apartments and flats and we have limited space? You know, how do we do that?
There's a lot, you know, and let's look at it in the extreme end of things, where you literally don't even have a patch of soil on your property. So everything is concrete jungle, but there is a lot that can be done as well. Container gardening is becoming quite a huge thing, also because you don't have to dig, you don't have to work the soil, you don't have to work really hard. It's also instantaneous. So immediately you can bring in fruit trees in containers. You can immediately bring in a whole vegetable garden in containers. You can bring in nuts. You can bring in strawberries and blueberries and all of that in containers. And yes, the space is a challenge, but we're looking at vertical gardening, where we literally don't have horizontal gardening. So we're looking at using a lot more of our wall space, because we don't have a lot of this ground space. We don't have soil. We don't also have a lot of square meterage. So we're looking at, but we have plenty of walls. So vertical gardening is becoming a thing as well. And people are not just thinking about vertical gardening in terms of creating those beautiful ornamental garden walls filled with philodendrons and asparaguses that we can't eat. People are actually thinking, I want a herb garden wall. I want a vegetable garden wall. And also, I want it to look beautiful. I don't want it to feel like something that came out of a farm somewhere. I want it to merge in with my personal style. It must merge in with the style of the architecture of my home. So people are really thinking about gardens in ways, I suppose, in unconventional ways that we probably have not had to think about and would not have had to think about had it not been for COVID. Yeah.
I mean, Amanda, so I know that you have a little bit more land than a balcony, and you have a veggie garden. And I mean, do you get a lot of calm from working in the garden? Is it a way to relax? Is it a stress buster? What is your kind of feeling of joy? You do this every day, so I know there's an element of it being your job. I imagine it must be lovely to have a job that's outdoors and with your hands in the earth. But Amanda, what do you get from it?
Well, it's all of the above. I mean, I grew up in rural Transkei, where we grew our own vegetables, we grew our own fruit, you know, and there's just something so satisfying about walking out into your garden and picking something and cooking it.
We've lost Amanda. We've lost you.
Just being one in a way. So it is a big stress reliever, but also I love Woolies. I spend a kidney at Woolies. In fact, I have no kidneys left. They're all at Woolies.
You're looking surprisingly good for a person with no kidneys, I must just say.
But it's absolutely wonderful to just pick your own herbs. And I mean, Joy talks about a vertical garden, which is what we actually wanted her to help us with, because the rest of the stuff we've been doing over the years. But we want to screen our back wall. And because our house is just glass everywhere, you can see all the greenery beautiful across the yard. But the backside is, well, the back, not backside, but the back is this concrete wall. So we actually commissioned Joy to just do that design for us. But I mean, we putting things like granadilla there that's going to crib. And, you know, so we want edible spaces, but something that also just feels our soul as well. So yeah.
And I mean, just something else that I know, and Scott, I promise you I'm not ignoring you, because I'm about to get to you the second. But you know, Amanda, I know that's something that's you incredibly involved in, is working with communities. And I mean, you spearhead a lot of involvement in various charities, gender-based violence, you know, community upliftment. But Scott, I mean, I'm fascinated to hear a bit about what you've been doing during lockdown from a Woolies perspective. Do you want to just give us a bit of a rundown on the project?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Sarah. And thank you very much for having me. It's amazing to
Great
be
to have you here.
on a panel of such inspirational women. I mean, just listening to the stories so far, I wish I was on the other side so I could really engross myself. But I've been very fortunate that I haven't really been in lockdown. I've been back at the office. I mean, 2 weeks I had of lockdown, and I got a phone call from Richard Stockley, who's the head of innovation, who asked me, so it's got the ICT, the Infinity Culinary Training School, who Woolies help fund, have reached out to us, and they would like to repurpose the funds that we give them, which they would normally use to cook for the students and teach the students, use those funds to cook for Life Child in Philippines. So he asked me, can you come in, can you set the kitchen up upstairs and give them a hand, you know, show them what to do? I said, absolutely, you know, I'd absolutely love to do that. I think at that stage, you know, letters had to get given out, and it was a lot of red tape to get through to get in and out of the office every day. But we went in, and the first day that the ask was to cook for 60 people in Philippines, and we did. We cooked for 60 people. We sent the food out, which was fantastic. We felt really good about ourselves. We came home with a plan to do the same thing the next day. Only to find, you know, when I sat down and having my dinner, I got a phone call saying that we've gone to Philippines. They've been turned around at a roadblock. The police have said it's not safe to come in, so we can't deliver the food. So Melinda, who works for the ICT, asked me, says, you know, what should we do? I said, look, don't panic. I've worked with a lot of other charities. We can repurpose the food straight away. There's a lot of people that need food. We can make a plan. Let's get back into the office tomorrow. Let's carry on as normal. We'll send Barry, who's another guy, part of the ICT, one of the founders, amazing guy, went over to the police station and said, look, guys, this is the situation. We really need to get the food. We've promised food to Life Child. Can you help us? Can you escort us through? So the police said, look, we're happy to do that, but, you know, we'd like you to give back to one of the communities locally for us if you can. You know, if you have a feeding scheme and you can cook some more, could you please, you know, help us out here? So we made that commitment. So from one beneficiary, we turned into 3. So that after the first week of promising 60 meals a day, we ended up by cooking nearly 500 meals. And I said to Melinda and Barry at the ICT at the end of the week, I said, guys, there's more to this. We can do more. Next week, I want to do 1,000 meals. I think we can hit 1,000 meals. And they said, yeah, okay, Scott, we'll phone around and we'll find some more beneficiaries. And what Barry and Melinda did was they phoned around and they found the beneficiaries that were many children, and really beneficiaries that would normally slip through the cracks. So it's difficult to say, but these were really the neediest of needy people that really didn't have food. I mean, we were their only option. And we completed the second week. I think we did 1,200 meals. And I said to Barry and Melinda, I said, look, this kitchen that we have upstairs, our development kitchen at Woolworths head office, I said, we kind of hit capacity here, but don't panic. We've got a kitchen downstairs, which we normally feed, the canteen kitchen normally feeds the whole of head office. It's a lot bigger. Let me make some phone calls. Let's see if we can take over downstairs. And I think by the end of next week, we can do 5,000 meals. And they looked at me as if I was absolutely crazy. And I said, no, don't panic. We can do it. And lo and behold, we opened up downstairs. We finished the week and we did 5,000 meals. So I said, look, I think I can make a plan, and I think we can boost this number. I think we can double the number. And they said, Scott, that is it. You know, you're going mad now. I said, no, look, let me develop a recipe so that we can get the utmost nutrition into it, the fiber, 2 of your 5 a day, protein content. So, you know, adding things like lentils, which are slow release carbohydrates, are really sustainable in terms of nutrition, and also for them to feel good sustenance whilst they're eating. And delicious as well. So we managed to get through that next week, and we hit 10,000. And by then we'd needed more resource. So I was able to pull some more resource in. My team were able to come back in. We had more students coming in from the ICT. So we're now able to create this brilliant, I mean, almost working scheme that was taking off on its own. And then Melinda said to me, Scott, we've gone over budget by quite a bit. So I said, okay, look, let's relook at what we're doing. Let's relook at how we're doing it, and let's see how much further we can stretch. So what we managed to do is get to a sustainable model where we can still cook 3,500 meals a day. We had to reduce down to cooking only three days a week, because what was happening is that we had 3 scares, COVID scares, which meant that you know, if one of my team was sick, everybody goes down and then we're out for 14 days. Now that actually happened on a Friday, and I got a phone call late on a Friday, and Barry and Melinda said, you know, really upset, obviously, you know, finding out that one of the guys had COVID, and said, look, we're going to have to park the bus for 2 weeks. I said, no, that doesn't happen. I said, there's too many people relying on us now. We can't stop. So I put a note out to Woolworths, the business, and said, look, guys, I need some support. I need some help. And, you know, before I could click my fingers, I had a team back in place, back in on Monday, and we carried on. So we're now 17 weeks in on the feeding scheme, and we're just shy of 300,000 meals. And the plan is not to stop. We're going to carry on. We're talking to a team at called Thought Africa, who are going to be able to help us with the education side. So we want to add another layer to it. So they're going to bring education packs to the children. And there's just, the story is just incredible. The people that are part.
Fantastic. I mean, it's amazing. I feel like, sorry to cut you off there, because I was going to just ask you, I mean, I think we've all, if you're on social media and talking to mates, you've all seen how these sorts of things have just risen to the top, and it's like extremely hard time. All these phenomenal community people and small little groups of friends getting together and doing fantastic things, and business doing. I mean, that's a lot of people you're feeding every day. Just a quick one, and then I'm going to move on. But how does it change your life? How does it make you feel?
So I've had a really difficult start to the year. I actually I contracted a pulmonary embolism, and I actually was in the hospital in the ICU. And it was sort of at that stage where I felt that, you know, I needed to come out of it. I needed to rebuild my life. I needed to get stronger personally, but I also wanted to give back in a way that's sustainable, that I could keep giving back. And I do quite a lot for charity, but it always sort of fits around my diary, and I kind of wanted to make something more constant. So this is something now that it's more than a passion project. It's a way of life for me, and I want it to keep growing. I want it to be infectious. I want people to be involved, and I want people to be inspired by it, to be able to do exactly the same.
I mean, I know that I speak for the whole Wanted team, because this is something we're all incredibly passionate about. Is because we are in a position where we can give back, and I think that these are the stories that we'll all remember from this COVID period, is of people who just went for it and gave back to communities and helped. I just think it adds so much meaning to all of our lives, and I think that it's not a responsibility, but it is something that we should all be doing. And I think that the Woolies team, and particularly you, should be so proud of that. I mean, it's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I'm just going to jump around a little bit, because I think we've got a few things to cover. Hina, I just wanted to ask you about a couple of things. And it's probably, I don't want to sound too superficial moving on from that major project. But because I think a lot of people who are listening right now are probably thinking, I'm actually exhausted. I just am over it. The children are annoying me intensely. My husband is annoying me intensely. And I actually I'm tired. I can't go on holiday because things are just tough. Things to do with trends in terms of wellness, but relaxation and beauty and clean beauty and the little things that we can do. What do you think, the practical things, what do you think we'll be seeing, and what if you got any advice for us about that stuff?
Gosh, there's lots that we can be doing. I mean, we've talked about our home. We've talked about creating little pods in our home. We've had to create pods in our home. We've got a workstation. We've got a family station. We've got a family station. And I think we mainly have to think about, when do we all come together as one, which we will do multiple times a day. When do I have time on my own for work? But then when do I have time for me? And there is a routine. There is a mindset. And, and I think we need to tap into a routine around beauty and detoxification and caring for ourselves, caring for our body, caring for our mind. So, kind of bringing the spa into your home. I think the bathrooms are going to be important. I think the sense of smell is so vital. I think it kind of brings so much joy to you in terms of how the senses kind of become alive. So yes, I think bathing rituals, I think yoga, mindfulness. I mean, we know there's been a huge spike in people tapping into mindfulness and meditation, whether they do it at nighttime or they do it in a quiet time in the day, or just taking that moment to take time for yourself. You know, you don't have to leave your house. You don't have to go somewhere. You just have to find a Zen-like space somewhere within your home, light a candle, do some yoga, or just sit and think, just be quiet, just meditate, you know. And then, you know, of course, there's all the beauty routines. I think they are so important. You know, I think the whole the vegan beauty, natural beauty is growing in such importance. We at Woolies believe in it. I myself have been a driver for it for many, many years. And so to use those, you know, to think about yourself and look after yourself. And I think that these are trends that are here to stay. And I think people are doing it, you know, and benefiting from it.
I mean, I can tell you absolutely for free. I mean, a bit of too much information, but I'm a professional bather, an absolute professional bather. I mean, if there was a PhD to be given out of bathing, I'd have it. And I can tell you that bathing and I mean, I'm also a very strict vegan beauty product person. I really believe in that. If those
Me
things
too.
that got me through COVID. Being able to have a bath at night, read my book in the bath, or my phone, and I have never dropped my phone in the bath, so no judging everyone. And now tempting fate, touch wood. But those things, we mustn't underestimate how important they are. I mean, I think absolutely.
No, they're vital. And I don't know, but I happen to live in a very open space. There's no room to my door, my bedroom. There is nowhere in this house I can close the door apart from the bathroom. That bathroom's become my sanctuary.
Leave me alone. And Kath, I mean, just talking about this sort of like the health thing. I mean, it is wellness, but just the veganism. And I mean, do you think we've seen a real move towards people eating healthier things? I mean, I'm surprised that there hasn't been an outrageous spike in chuckles. I know that I've now name checked chuckles 5,000 times in this conversation, but do you think that people are moving towards a healthier way of eating? Are they worried about wellness? Are they worried about gut health and immunity and all those things?
Absolutely. I think it's more than just health. So yes, I don't know who touched on it earlier. I think it might have been Hima, but about this fragility that we felt at the beginning of COVID, realizing, you know, how the ecosystem of the world that we live in and sustainability and all these different factors combining put us in a very fragile place, and COVID really took that to the forefront. I think comorbidity became the catchword that everyone was talking about. So things that might not have been really highlighted before, such as obesity, heart disease, diabetes, those were all pre-existing real health crises in our country before COVID. Those have all been escalated and brought to the forefront. So people are more conscious, but it's more than just healthy eating. I think it's more conscious eating. And I love between what Hina was saying and Scott, but we talk about self-care, but I almost look at it as these concentric circles of consciousness and care that come up if you talk about well-being. So starting with self-care, but then looking at how your immediate environment, how you can start caring and be more conscious in your immediate environment, and then really into your community, and why it's really important to keep that sort of outward focus. It's not only about caring about us, but actually caring about our environment and the world around us. And I think that is definitely going to be something that I really hope does stay and remains elevated. And just, talking back to that family environment and the role that this gathering in the kitchen, it's been such a great opportunity for us to start having those engagements with our kids. And the more we can get them involved in food, the more we can start sharing the dialogues about some of these big food system issues that we face, like why would you choose sustainable meat, and why are we trying to eat more plant-based foods? And we've seen such an increase in people trialing plant-based, because before, I think it's something that we all had in the back of our mind that we knew we should be moving towards, but didn't have the time to explore. Now people have had that time to cook and explore new recipes. And so yes, definitely people eating more healthier, but also more consciously, and really just encourage. I mean, I'm a mum of 3 boys, and we've had some very cool conversations in the last few months around animal species and natural resources, and think about what we eat, and think about, as Hina was saying, what we put in our body and in our home. You mentioned earth-friendly products earlier. It's actually everything. And something we take very seriously at Woolies is it's a lifestyle shift that we're trying to drive here, isn't it? It's something that is not easy. We're stuck in routines and habits, and we really are trying to make, whether it's eating healthier or living a more conscious life or having a more eco-friendly home or beauty regime, easier, and actually enable people to do that more easily. But
well, I think it's working. I mean, I just as a consumer can say that I'm much more aware and mindful about plant-based eating, and because it's there, it's you can just walk down an aisle or you order online and you can get it without, within a click of a button. And one of those things that I bought, and I've got a question from the audience, so actually please all get your questions going, because we're going to cross over to that now. But one of the questions is, and I'm fascinated by this because I've only ever bought them from Woolies, is the edible flowers. But someone wants to ask, Joy, it's in fact, yeah, she asked, how do you grow edible flowers? How do you begin growing edible flowers? What advice do you have? I mean, I have never thought of it.
They're probably one of the easiest things to grow, because there isn't the pressure of having to produce a fruit. If you're trying to grow a tomato, there's a pressure that as soon as that tomato flowers, a fruit has to come through, and that fruit has to be good quality. It can't have black spots. It can't have this. So with edible flowers, they're one of the easiest things to grow. They're also one of the most accommodating in terms of space, because you can grow edible flowers on a small pot in a windowsill. You can grow edible flowers in and amongst your vegetable gardens, in and amongst your ornamental plants as well. So how do you grow it? A good soil preparation is always key. Good soil preparation is key for all plants, because plants are like us. They are what they eat. So if you've started with really good soil preparation, you won't have any problems. Edible flowers tend to need a little bit more water. So you need to watch that the soil is also moist. It's not constantly drying out. They need a lot of sun as well, because they are flowers. They need that energy. So it's not the type of thing that you can grow indoors, unless if you are using a window that has really, really good light. A north-facing window is a really nice one, because it's gonna get that full sun right throughout the day. So good soil preparation. If you're using a pot, make sure that your soil is consistently moist, and that you've put it in an area that's gonna get some really, really good sun. But yeah, one of the easiest things. And Woolies always has these nice varieties that you can, mix and match. And they've got the most beautiful, sweetest taste. But also we need to explore some indigenous varieties as well, because there are some really lovely indigenous edible flowers. When I was growing up, we used to go around and we would pick the aloes, the flowers of the aloes. We would pick that and we would suck the nectar from it. But because of hybridization and all the things that are happening in the plant world, as soon as you hybridize a plant, you're going to lose something from it. So the first time I came to Joburg, I started doing the thing that I would normally do in the village. So you pick the aloe flower and you suck the nectar from it, and there was nothing. So you have to also make sure that, if you're bringing in plants, make sure that there's species plants, because if it's a species plant, it's going to be an original plant. It hasn't been hybridized. Nothing has been done to it. So it will have that nectar in it. So yeah, lots to explore in that area.
I must just say, just to interrupt you, we have been joined by a feline member of our panel. So welcome. And someone, and in fact, it's Zanella who sent a whole group question to everyone. So if anyone wants to jump in, feel free. The question is, what benefits have you experienced and still do during COVID? And just to speak to, I don't know if it's a Mrs. or a Mr. Cat, but I am a gender neutral cat, zero judgment here. But I found our animals to be such a joy in during COVID.
Can I just say?
Yeah.
Sorry. The cats, we've got 2 cats. This is Kitty. We've got Kitty and Lecky, but they have been an absolute joy. In fact, they're only about 1.5 years old, and prior to COVID, one of them was in the house all the time. The other one was never here. And since we've been here, they are here all the time, and they're attached to us. They've brought us joy. I think we've brought them joy. I mean, this one is just attached to me all the time. My little boy gets into the bed with me. The cat gets into the bed with me in the morning. There's a
Look, I mean, zero judgment here. I'm mad, but our business manager, our wonderful business manager, Yvonne Schaff, she and her daughters have started an Instagram account for their cats. It is the Greek Catastrophes. Yvonne, I know you're listening. Please put their Instagram account on the chat, because they will, of course, they're well on their way to becoming international stars. So now we might as well just harness the power of the wanted chat. But just to come back to that question, segueing from Kitty, I mean, Amanda, Scott, anyone jump in here. I mean, how do you guys feel? Like, what are the benefits you've experienced from COVID, actually? Anyone? Amanda?
Yeah. Well, the life balance for me has been incredible. Just the balance of life, just balancing children, work, home. The benefits for me have been incredible. Just, reclaiming a balanced lifestyle.
Thank you. Amanda?
I also think it's, I think that the important things have taken priority. And often we are rushing, we are constantly in traffic, and what this phase has done is just slow us down a bit and give us the opportunity to be a bit more reflective, which is something we don't do often because our lives are so busy. So I think the noise definitely went away. The noise levels went down, which meant that we could start to hear ourselves think, and we could actually just be one with ourselves. And so not just the benefits in as far as family connection is concerned, but just selves, just that moment where we can just put ourselves at the top of the list.
Yeah, absolutely true. Scott, I think you want to say something? And Kath. Okay, I'm going to...
Sorry, Scott.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be a bit tongue-in-cheek and say to Amanda that I know she wasn't talking literally about noise, but she clearly doesn't have sons. She does actually have a son, but not 3 of them. No, I have really enjoyed having the kids and the family intensity of this time. But I have to also say a little bit jokingly that I have really also enjoyed them going back to school recently. So working at home is
not alone.
Absolutely.
So I've rediscovered what mornings are like again. It's amazing to be able to work, and you realize how much more effectively you can work when you don't have someone knocking on your door every 5 minutes or interrupting your Zoom.
Well, I must say, one thing that I'm not sure anyone else has done, but in the middle of this, Amanda Dambuza became an art dealer, because her kids are budding artists. In fact, not just budding, very talented. So because you're never going to just be the normal mom, Amanda, you started an Instagram account for them and are now selling their art. I mean, I think if William Kentridge and Samuel Ngetwa are watching this, they perhaps should be contacting you.
I don't do anything. I don't do anything easily, clearly. I create free accounts for all my children because they...
And then just exactly, Scott. And just to quickly wrap up with, I just want to answer those, Chris. Scott, what is your answer? Sorry, we're not ignoring you, gentlemen.
No, it's fine. I don't mind. Yeah, I agree with Amanda. For me, it's really about giving us that chance to be present and be mindful and be, being at home for those couple of weeks before I went and started the charity. It was just so nice to be with my wife and get to know each other more. We're normally these passing ships. We wake up, we do our day, we get back and we fall into that routine. But, now it's like, oh, hey, I can make you a coffee and you can make, it's just nice to be present and get to know each other on another level.
Absolutely. And Joy, what are your thoughts on it? Oh, I think you're on mute. Oh, no, you're there. You're on mute.
There we go. Okay. For me, it's the complete opposite. I'm just sitting here and listening to how everybody is relaxing. And I'm thinking, because everyone is at home and they're starting to see the home improvement projects that need to actually take place because they actually have time to pay attention, this has been my most busiest time. So everybody wants to have a garden. Everybody wants to have their garden landscape. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm experiencing the complete opposite of having time and relaxing. So I am
A question of being careful what you wish for. Hey,
But to be honest, I mean, I haven't necessarily been quiet either. It's not necessarily that it's all quiet and zen-like, but without having to get in the car to go from A to B and zoom around, the busyness kind of happens here. I move from one room to the other. So I felt like I've been able to contain the busyness better and not have wasted time in journeys or things like that.
Absolutely. I think it's all our lives, hasn't it?
I think, Sarah, there was a fantastic, I don't know where I saw it, a quote or a saying that said, before we rush back to life, let's all consider what we're rushing back to. And I think that's a reflection for all of us, isn't it? About what are the things we want to actually get back to that we miss, and then what are the things that we are really happy to leave behind pre-COVID. I guess we're going to end up in a bit of a hybrid situation.
Yeah. It's an opportunity, right? Out of change and dark moments comes huge opportunity, and I think that is a good thought to just wrap up on, because I hope this has been useful to everyone who's listening. I've loved it. I think you guys are like a dream team of minds, and made me feel so much better about my life. Now that we're going into our September deadline, I feel like I can face a little bit, and I just wanted to thank you all for coming. And I hope that everyone who's watching this seizes that opportunity and that they're kind to themselves. I think that's something that we just all need to be mindful of. So much stress in this world. And cut yourself some slack, and say no. What is it? A no is a sentence of, it's just a sentence, Amanda, right? It's just no. Full stop, done.
It's a full sentence, just no.
Full sentence, it's no. And thank you very much to everyone. I've absolutely loved this. We're going to be doing lots more of Wellness with Wanted, and hopefully with our Woolies team, because I know that you guys, we could have 5 more of these and we wouldn't be finished talking about what we want to talk about. So just to say, I'd love to hear feedback from everyone. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's at Sarah Buitendach. That's the beginning part of my surname. And I'd love to hear some feedback from you via email too. You can get me on sarahb@arena.africa. And we'll be announcing the winners tomorrow. Jade has just sent me a mail to say that you'll be contacted afterwards, the winners. So you can all, no one sleep tonight in anticipation for the fact that you've basically hopefully won something fabulous, particularly that voucher for all the delicious food from Woolies. And thank you very much to Wanted, but also to Woolies. Thanks, guys. That's been absolutely wonderful. Thank you for just brightening up all of our Thursday nights. And now everyone go and spend some time with your family and make something delicious and have a glass of wine. Put on your sweatpants if you weren't in them already.